Hi, and welcome to a new edition of our Low Code Cafe webinar. This is the 9th episode, so it's been a long run. Next week will mark our 10th edition with a special edition. It will be a surprise. That's just another way of saying that we haven't figured out yet what we should do big. And then if you were here in the past 8 editions, you know that we built an application progressively, a task management application. And then starting with the 11th webinar, we plan to start a new application. So then we start a new concept, new challenges. So I think we'll keep this pattern where every maybe 10 or less webinars, we start a new big topic. So for those of you that are the first time in this webinar, just to give you a brief explanation about what we do here. This is a weekly event where we invite the community and also our internal team. It's a very good space to connect, to discuss, but also we do demos. And the most important part that was requested by our community is to do hands-on development. So what I mentioned earlier so far has been starting a task management application and incrementally add new features into it. We'll get to that in the second part of the webinar. We appreciate your feedback a lot and your input. There are multiple ways to engage us. Just to mention, all these webinars are recorded. They are on our YouTube channel, and I will post the link into the chat window. So make sure to visit, to see what we built so far. And also it's interesting content in there. Like last week, we demoed the new dashboard capabilities, which was a very, very slick demo. And I will leave Reza to tell you more about this feature that will come in the next release. So the agenda for today is I will start by showing you the ways to get support from us because they also change. We have new channels. Some will become obsolete. So I want to give you like a complete map of the places where you'll want to go to get the support. After that, we'll have the usual chapters with Dale giving us some stories from support that he encountered in the past week, and then Reza Garrow will go over the product roadmap, upcoming releases, but also looking a bit further ahead with what's coming. And then we'll get to the hands-on development with Radu. He leads our implementation team. As I said, there are multiple ways to engage with us. There is a chat window, there is a Q&A window, and of course you can raise your hand. You can. And I will give you permission to be able to do voice and start the conversation. Okay, so without further ado, I was mentioning that I want to give you an overview of how to get help, because there are many channels, and some we are migrating from the DNSR brand to PlantaNet brand. So then I try to create here like a side-by-side migration. So then you'll understand that there are some fronts we are focusing on. So just know that they are coming. So first of all is the documentation. You're probably familiar. Oh, sorry, something happened here. Okay. So the first one, documentation. If you know, there was docs.dnsharp.com and docs.plantanet.com. That is the old documentation. We actually started a new documentation site. So we start fresh with a modern perspective on things, remove the legacy pages from the documentation. And what will be very interesting about this new documentation is that it's based on GitHub and Markdown files, and it's an open source repository. So anyone could contribute easily to keeping this documentation up to date with lessons that we all learn every day. And this will be coming soon, the new documentation. It's already live. You could go to that URL, learn.plantanet.com, but it's just work in progress. It's not live yet. This will probably be live within a few weeks and will definitely make it into the low-code cafe webinar to give you the overview of it, but also show you how to contribute to it. Then is the new things that we released, the community forums. We went live with this last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago. And it's already being used, so it was a good success. So thank you all for being in there. And we see other people contributing, helping others. So it's a very good feeling to know that we have such a wonderful community. We on the DNN Sharp side, we didn't have any forums. Actually, the help desk solution active both as a help desk system, but as a forum. Of course, there is a help desk on Plantain app as well. So if you log in the console with your account, you'll see it in the support menu under the support section. The next big thing, and I mentioned this, our YouTube channel. So there's one for DNN Sharp that's been around for 10 years probably. But now we are building a new channel for Plantain app. And yeah, notice the ugly URL. We still need to have 100 subscribers before we can have a friendly URL. So I invite you all to subscribe and help us get there. And finally, there's also blogs. You know, there's a blog on DNN Sharp side that really hasn't been maintained so much in the recent months. But then on the Plantain side, you'll see like 4, 5, 6 articles every month. And also some things that are maybe not so obvious is that there are some premium support features that our customers have and request. I will go briefly over them. So there are, so the standard support comes without SLA. Usually there are metrics on the website public. Usually we get very good response rates and we help everyone, but we don't have an SLA for regular support. But then we have either SLA agreement to get SLA in place, or we have pay per incident kind of support without commitments. And then there are other levels like dedicated success manager. We do this to have a person that helps get requirements done, lay out a blueprint for an implementation. So this can be like a dedicated success management, like a monthly subscription, or it can be hourly based, just when needed. And of course, many of our customers ask us for introduction, like I need somebody to help me on this requirement. So we have a big network of around 4,000 company, 8,000 individuals that we can mix and match to help on requirements. Because this is the power of our community, let's help each other to do more, to do better, to do faster, and participate to each other's success. So that was my part. I now want to invite Dale, and give me a second to make Dale a panelist. Done. So now I want to invite Dale to give us this week's stories from support, what we learned, what customers went over, and how they were addressed.
Hello, team. Hello, community. Let's see here. Light on the subject. Can I share my screen, Bogdan?
Sure.
I'll find that. All right. Okay, from the trenches. Had a couple of interesting cases in the last week that I thought I would like to talk about. The first was saving some grid selection into a form and doing that without a post back. So first of all, I'll mention that we have a low-code feature focus channel, and I will also try and paste that. Actually, when I'm done talking, I'll paste that on the board, on the chat. But what we're going to do is, from a form, we get to pop up a modal grid. So this is a case where you're trying to look up some information that goes right into a form, and you'll be able to search and select, or even compute something, and then push that back into the form, all without a page refresh. So seeing how this works, for example, if I wanted to fill in first name, last name, and email of my customer from a customer table, we can open a reference grid and it pops up and we get a standard grid to work from. And so, for example, if Mary was my customer, I could search for her, use the standard features of the grid, and then when I select, it pops her information back into the form. So that's all nice and very efficient. You could have multiples of those established. But I also just wanted to demonstrate, and this is a very crude demonstration, but if you wanted the grid to be able to do some kind of a computation, whether you're computing the total of line items or any kind of lookup, and I just picked a very simple one where we're going to count rows. So I selected a couple of rows and I count them, and the message gets updated to say you've selected 2 rows. And if I open that up again, I can select, you could select more rows, and that changes the selection there. And in the same way, if I pick the wrong customer, I can select Joe here off the list. And so this nice, very quick interaction with the pop-up screen is really quite easy to do. And I would again point you to the low code feature focus because it's about a 13-minute video to do it step by step. But I'm just going to focus in on the main code today, which is that in the item button where we execute, we do some JavaScript where we point the JavaScript to the module that we're going to push information in, and we say that the field in the form gets the value of, in this case, first name and then last name and email from the grid. So it's a pretty straightforward JavaScript, and then we apply it and let the pop-up close. So it's not a very difficult concept. Putting it all together might take you a few minutes, and I would again point you back to the video at low code feature focus. The second one I wanted to demonstrate, I had a client asking about building a conditional email body. Instead of including every field from a form in an email body, they wanted to only include it if it had data. And so I've used this same form, and I'm going to refresh it here to demonstrate how it works. But I have the same form, and I have a send email button. Now, it's not actually sending an email, but it is building up this email body, and it's going to display it right here on the form. So without anything entered, it says, here are the details, and there's nothing there. If I fill in the information, I pick a user and do the send email, the body expands. So we have first name, last name, email, but we don't have a message. And so if we put in a content in the message, this email this email body just continues to grow. So it's a very straightforward application, and it's all done using a form. And I'll just again highlight it, but there's a video that talks about this specifically. So I created an email body. It's a static text, and this is just a place to hold our result. And in the send email button, the actions take advantage of inject data. So we're setting the email body equal to here are the details, and then we do successive inject datas where we conditionally execute them. So if the first name is not blank, then the email body gets set to the email body plus the first name field. And we do this over and over. If the last name is not blank, then it gets the last name content. And we do that again with the email and the message. And then we update the form with Ajax. So we end up getting this effect where whatever fields are blank don't appear in the email body token. Typically, this email body token would be hidden, and then you would use it in an email as the email body. You just put that token into the email, and you get that custom output. So both of those things are on low code feature focus. Again, I'll post that link into the chat in just a minute. And then the last thing I want to talk about was there's a interesting case that came up where output caching on the page interferes with action form, or action form doesn't act well with it. There's a, because the authorization ends up getting cached and then doesn't match, we get a 401 unauthorized error message. And so we'll just remind you that, or let you know that under page settings, advanced more output cache provider, that's what you're looking for, output cache provider, we're recommending that we choose either none or file. Typically there's no, in a form, there isn't any benefit from caching, and so setting that page cache to none will likely clear up the issue. So those are my 3 for today. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to look at those. And either.
Thanks a lot, Dale. I
Sure.
don't see any questions so far. If any pop up, I will make sure to get you back to go through them.
Great.
Very good lessons. Thanks a lot for sharing it, and thanks a lot for doing these feature videos. They are very helpful from the feedback we received so far. So I invite everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel to make sure you see them as they come, because I mean, especially the unauthorized issue, that could save you hours, and of course also hours of support time for us. So it's very good to stay connected. We are now ready to move on to the next part of our webinar, and that is invite Reza Garrow, that leads our product management team, to give us an overview of what's coming, what are the next releases, what is the big vision of where we are heading.
Thanks, Bogdan. Hi, everyone. I want to make sure I leave us good time to build some apps today. So I'll go through this kind of quickly. We are really close to finishing up release 1.8, which will include the 5.8 series of DNN Sharp modules, as well as the 1.8 version of App Builder. It's in alpha right now. There was a couple of items that we had come in through the support center that one of them security related we thought was important enough to kind of push things out a week and get that in now so we can get it out to everyone, and I'll talk about that here in a second. We should have a beta release candidate ready next week at this time. We've got some folks we work with that kind of do some client testing for us and things once everything's passed through our hands, and just kind of let things bake for a few days and make sure there's no gremlins in the hood or something that we missed. So that'll be available next week at this time, and then the following Monday we'll go ahead and push out properly to the world. What you're getting in this release then will be more control over the entity pages. So when you are building your data model and we generate the pages and the forms and the grids and wire them all up for you, they are just alphabetically listed currently in the out of the box menu that's there. You can always go into NavXP and override and change and customize that menu. However, just for most people wanting to set what order things show in, as well as if you want to do some nesting. So if you've got some reference data or lookup type fields that you maintain and have joined over to your entity, and you want to maybe put those underneath the entity. So I have a customer's entity and I have customer type, customer status. I don't want those in the main menu, but I'd like them underneath the customer menu entry. That's like the root entry. You're able to do those right from within the entity builder. We've also got the one-click upgrade coming, that when there's an update to App Builder, so going forward with 1.9 and above, when things are released, not just the minor hot fixes and things like that that come out and the dependencies, but the entire App Builder itself, plus all the dependencies, one click of the button. We saw the KPI dashboard last week. We've put a couple extra bells and whistles into that, even from what we saw last week, and that'll be releasing. We've got a new tag type field. The legacy one just was built on some open source code that is no longer supported, and it's pretty outdated for modern CSS and UI and things like that. So we've got a really good one. It's based on Angular material. This should be completely transparent, non-breaking change. So anywhere that you have a tag field in place, they'll just keep working. Very similar look and feel, but you have a lot more configuration and things you can do on the back end. And for us, we can keep supporting it and making sure it's secure and going to work in modern browsers, that sort of thing. I did mention there's a couple of security enhancements. So one of those is around, without speaking in too detail about it, and I'll speak more next week, but around preventing form fields that you have or of text type and things from being vulnerable to cross-site scripting, people injecting JavaScript, that sort of thing, into the field, into your forms, and potentially making it onto your database. Another feature that's standalone but related is a new action type called Sanitize HTML. And this one's great. It was inspired by our own community forum, where you are wanting users actually to give you HTML code snippets, this sort of thing, and wanting to kind of clean that up, maybe just parse JavaScript out, closing tags that maybe weren't handled properly. A lot of neat features and things there. And that's just an action that you'll be able to put into your forms or workflows or anywhere. And when you submit, you can target various fields that you have that are of text, the text HTML types, and run them through this action and set a lot of different features and things that can really just clean that HTML up and get it the way you want it before it's processed and handed off into your database or wherever you're doing with it. We also had the new date time picker that came out a couple of releases ago. Just continued to make some enhancements there. I mean, one of the big things with that one, not just from the user experience UI front end standpoint, but this is where, and if you've really done a lot of work with date time, especially when you're getting back in the database, there's a lot of different formats and things when it comes to handling a date time. And maybe you've seen this or your users have, where you put in one thing, but then once it comes back out of the database, it's a different time. And a lot of it has to do with what time zone the server that's hosting the database is on, or what you have as the default in DNN, or where the user is sitting. And so this gives you a lot of features behind the scenes to handle those different formats and offsets of dates and times and things like that. And so we've just continued iterating on that and giving you more power and functionality there. And then just several other, as always, just committed, working with Dale, taking the things that are coming in from the support center and the community forum and making sure that we're always working those in with every release. And then I'll just touch on 1.9 and beyond. This one's going to be really exciting as well. Continuing on our quest over the next several releases to keep making the data modeler and the entity kind of page UI creation better, being able to order and prioritize what the fields are on forms, and when they're displayed on the screen, being able to break those up. So when you have very big tables or entities, having some things that are primary, that's what's shown on the grid. But then if you're doing secondary, deeper work, and you can have a lot of other things that are shown then. But when a user is initially giving some data, kind of what we call above the fold, what would show up on the top of the screen without scrolling, those things being a little more isolated from all the extra detailed data that you might have. We've got this new listing module coming out. This is going to be kind of a replacement for Action Grid in App Builder, and it is template based. We've got 2 templates we'll be rolling out with it initially. One is a grid template, so similar to Action Grid, as well as a calendar template. And this one's been a long time coming, and it's very powerful. And I think we took a look at it a few weeks back. And so we're getting ready to release that out now. Continuing with making it easier to upgrade. Not just the core modules that ship with App Builder, but there's a lot of add-ons, other modules that you have access to, and connectors to things like Salesforce and Twilio and Growing List. And so you'll be able to pick and choose and just push a button and those will go right in. Again, want to keep rolling with the KPI dashboard, even though it's not even in people's hands yet. We've had some early testers and exposure to it, and even from the low-code cafe, just gotten a lot of really good feedback. And so wanting to continue going with supporting other data sources, different types of visualizations for the data, line charts, plotting multiple series, comparing values, also having the ability to have optionally, but automatically when you create your entity, having it be part of the package that's delivered on a page. So you don't even need to drop it on the page and configure it. It'll be there out of the box. So we're going to keep going with that. Also, DNN 9.7 just came out. And so we want to make sure we keep compatible and current. And so that's what'll be coming. Be on the lookout for that mid to late September as far as 1.9 goes. And then been averaging about every 3-4 weeks a good solid release. And so we'll keep that going for the rest of the year. And we should hit about 12 releases this year, all targeted about the middle of the month. And so that's the roadmap for this week. If there's any questions or, as always, requests, feedback, anything like that, love to hear it. And you are the voice that influences the roadmap more than anything. So please let us know, and we'll take it into consideration for sure.
Thanks a lot, Reza, for showing us what's coming. I think it's very interesting stuff, and being here inside where everything happens, we are very excited about all these new features, especially the dashboard capabilities and the calendar views and everything. Like Reza says, the new templating engine is very powerful. So we are looking at other templates as well to be available out of the box. As for example, when we implemented the community forum, the question was, wouldn't it be cool to have this conversational template out of the box? You know, just configure the author, the date of the comment, and then have that kind of conversational view out of the box, right? 2 clicks to configure. So that's where we are heading with this listing module. Thanks a lot, Reza. So now we are ready to move on to the hands-on part of the of this webinar, and I will invite Radu to present. Before that, I just wanted to point out this cool robot that Gav, our marketing CMO, Chief of Marketing, did. And also other cool pictures that I added to this presentation to add a bit of coolness and color to what we do. I don't know if it resembles Radu or not, but
I had Radu in mind when I did that.
Yeah. Just before I give the screen sharing to Radu, I want to give again a brief of introduction about this part of the webinar, what we are building. I presented this concept of extreme agility a couple of weeks ago, so I will not iterate over it again, but just knowing that low code enables agility, which is like the standard now in software development, enables it to take it to the next level, where the feedback loops are much shorter and the development cycles are much shorter, and the customer is more involved into the development process. So what we built for the past webinars was a task management application. Just to give you a brief overview, we have a database of customers. Each customer has tasks. We want to track hours with a start-stop button and then generate invoices on a billing cycle. What we did last week was to import existing data from spreadsheets into this application, assuming this customer that ordered the task management application did all in spreadsheet, as it's common to happen. So now the next stage in our development cycle, the new requirement from the customer is that customer should be able to send emails to a support email address, and then task would be open automatically when that email reaches the inbox. And just to give you the next steps as well. So next week, we plan to close this task management project to deliver it to the customer. And the final piece will be to implement the billing. So we'll integrate Stripe to collect payments. So that will be on the next week agenda. And after that, we'll move to a new project. So Radu, I'd be happy to stop my screen sharing, and you can take over to show us how we can integrate with email.
Okay. Can anyone see my screen? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Cool.
you and see.
Cool. Okay, so what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna set up an IMAP trigger from the scheduler to watch my personal work inbox for some words, from some keywords in the subject of the email, and in case I match those keywords, I'm gonna create some tests in the platform that we developed until now. So much likely, I think, like episode number 6 with the SMS, we are gonna do the same thing with our inbox. So the first thing I want to show you is actually I've added to the platform an add-on that enables me to, and I think I logged off. Give me 1 second. So I installed an add-on that is going to enable me to create IMAP triggers over the scheduler, and each time I'm going to receive an email, I'm going to be able to get that information and do stuff with it. In this case, create a new task. So let me create a new job, and I'm gonna say watch my inbox. And the trigger is, you can find it under the email group, and I'm gonna choose IMAP. And I'm gonna scroll a little bit down, and you can see that it's gonna ask me for a set of credentials. So the set of credentials is actually, it's gonna ask me which email provider I want to connect to, which email password, and so on. And let me click on manage credentials, and I'm gonna create a new group. I'm gonna say work, and I'm gonna click on add entry. In the new entry, I'm gonna say I'm gonna watch my Radu plant on app.com, and now it's asking me for some details about the IMAP connection. So the first thing I need to do is I need to enable the IMAP push from my inbox. So you can go under settings and see all settings, and under forwarding pop/IMAP, go and click on enable IMAP, leave everything as it is, and click save changes. If I go really quickly back, you can see that right now my IMAP is enabled. So the next thing will be, so because we are talking about Google, and Google has a lot of security, another thing that you need to do before accessing your IMAP, it will be to enable less secure app access. This is gonna let us connect from Plant and App to the Google servers. I don't know why they don't trust us, but you can just go and search less secure apps on Google, click on the first link, and you're gonna see if less secure access is off on your account, click here, and you can click turn it back on. I'm just gonna connect really quickly with my work account. Okay, and see it's off, so I can click enable. Keep in mind that they mentioned here that Google will automatically switch this off if you're not using it. So in case the authentication is not working anymore at some point, you should check this out. Usually you're going to get an email that's saying someone is trying to connect from your server location, and you're going to get some kind of notification that this feature is turned off. Okay, now continuing, we can go back to Google and search the Google IMAP settings, and click here, search, go on the first link. What I'm gonna do really quickly, because my browser, I'm just gonna really quickly switch it to English, and you can see that we have the settings here that we need to add here in the credentials. Okay, so the host name, going back here, is imap.gmail.com. gonna copy that and paste it here. And it's gonna say it's gonna require SSL. So I'm gonna click yes. And these kind of settings I think you can find for all the mail providers. And it's saying that the port is 993. So for adding the port, you just go and paste it here. Now the username is actually my email address. So for this, I'm gonna add my main address. So this is actually the main address of my inbox. And I'm gonna just put my password really quickly here and click save. Clicking, and I'm gonna click X here on the top right, and you see that my credentials are stored properly here. Now just gonna do really quickly, I'm just gonna set the start date for yesterday, so we don't have to, you know, set the correct time that this is gonna start checking. So I'm just setting in the past, so we don't need to bother with that. And the next setting is asking if you only want to check the inbox folder or all the folders. So just because it's convenient, I'm just gonna say that it's gonna look to all the folders. There are some other settings below, like if you want to go through all your emails and trigger some actions based on all your inbox, but I'm not gonna do that. I just want to trigger for new emails. It also gives you the option to save the attachments by clicking here and choosing the directory that you want to save, but I'm not going to do this. Also related to attachment, how to handle duplicates, and if you want to rename the files based on the pattern. Now, so now we are getting in the filtering options. So the filtering options actually are what emails should I trigger based on. So you can trigger based on the email, subject, recipients, sender, CC, BCC. You can actually search in the body, or even if the email has attachments. So what I'm gonna do, let me see. I think I had it somewhere, and I think okay. So I prepared a quick regex for the subject here, which is actually gonna look for words like work or task. And if the subject in my inbox is gonna get work or task, and click, it's gonna trigger, so I'm gonna get. And this is actually something I missed to say. So I'm gonna get all those informations here as tokens to use in the list of actions below. So I have including the from name to CC, BCC, even the attachments as a JSON, the info of the attachments, and so on. And I'm just gonna click on. I'm just gonna minimize that, and just for testing this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the body text, maybe the mail. Let me see, the mail from. I think I'm interested in, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set a log error message before I continue. So I want to see. I'm interested in from which person the email came, and which is the text from the email. So I'm just gonna put some lines here and paste it here. Okay, so I'm gonna close this, and I'm also gonna close this one, and I'm gonna click save. Okay, cool. So now I have my job that is actually looking at my inbox. You can see it has an initial run. This initial run, if it's successful in the history, it's gonna tell us that the connection was successful in checking my email. So it was the credentials and everything that I set up, it's okay, and it was able to connect to the Google email servers. If you have an error the first time you save this specific job, you are going to get an error and you can continue from there. The most usual one is the fact that they cannot log into your email box because of the less secure app access. Now let's go back to my inbox and let's send an email. So let me go to my personal email address, and which I hope I get first too. Okay, and let's compose an mail really quickly to me. Let's give it 1 second to load. Come on, you can do it. Okay. Okay, cool. So to me, my email address, and I have some work for. Oh my God. I have some work for you. Here is the description. Cool. So I'm gonna just click send. Okay, and okay, the email was sent. I'm going back to my email address. I'm just gonna wait for it to pop up. Okay, no. Give it, okay, so a new mail is here. Okay, I have some work for you. And now coming back to the scheduler, we can see that it's run like at this moment. In the history, we can see the last one, so checked. So it has one email, so the job worked. And we can go to the admin logs here and actually see the content of, not this one. So from Radu, from me, and here's the description. Okay, so I didn't put the subject properly. Okay, so now that I can read my inbox, what I would like to do is for each time I get a new email, I would like to create a new task. So getting back to the app really quickly, what I can do is, close this, I can go to the customer entity, and the trick that the trick that I can do now is check if I have a customer with the specific email that I'm getting the email from, which I have, and based on the, let's say, the subject, let's go and create for this customer a new task. So each time I get a new email, I'm gonna take the subject and create a new task for that specific customer. Okay, so let's do that. So coming back to the scheduler, automation, sorry. Okay, and I'm gonna open the new job and click on edit. So what I would like, so the first thing that I need is the email from. And what I can do instead of logging this error, I'm gonna delete this. I can run a SQL query to identify the ID of the customer. So I can do select all from app that customer where email equals at email. So email, the declared variable of email is gonna be equal to the email from value. And I'm gonna store this in customer. Okay, now going back, I can now what I can do from now. So let's say I want to execute a set of actions if the customer ID actually is different from an empty string. So what actually I'm looking for, so if you guys are gonna start sending me emails now, I only want to match customers that I actually have into the database. Otherwise, I'm gonna get some errors because I cannot create tasks for customers that I don't have in the system. So only if the customer exists in the system, I want to execute the next set of actions. Okay, so I will like to create a new task. Sorry, create new task. And for the customer, so the customer, if the customer is different from an empty string, I can get this here really quickly. And I want for this customer, I want the title to be mail dot, and I'm gonna scroll top in the trigger and get my token of the subject. Okay. And I need a status, and I'm just gonna assume one is created, but I'm gonna check that. And I think that's it. Create new task. Is it that simple? Let's see. Click save. Let me check first that my status ID. Wait, when here task statuses, and yeah, one is new. So does it have anything else? No. So that should be it. Let me try something else really quickly. So the first time I sent an email with work, I think the second word is task. Okay. Let me go to my personal email again, compose another email for me, and click. So this is me. Task. Add new feature. Add. I don't know. You know what? Release 1.9 next week. I'm gonna leave the description empty because I'm not gonna use it. So maybe in a perfect situation for me, I can have for each task I can have some description, but I don't have right now. And click send again. Okay, let's come back here. Give it a minute. I can refresh. Maybe the email didn't go through yet, or I did something wrong and the job didn't work. So I can go and check it out really quickly. And yes, it failed, and I know why. And I actually know why. It's because running entity-related actions inside scheduler doesn't have a user that actually run those actions. So because it's doing anonymous interactions with the entities, it cannot apply the security properly, so it refuses to add it. So one thing that I can do is say that in this situation, I can load the user, fake like a user. I think user one is the administrator, but you can create like a user that has the name system. So everything that comes from specific outside interactions that don't have a user that is doing this, you can put them to do it in the name of the system. This should work, and we can try again. Let me go back and compose another mail and say also for me, and say task release 1.9 now. Okay, and I'm gonna click send again, and this time I'm sure it should not have any issues. Okay, so still not working. Let's see why. Did I did something? No, so we have a success. Oh, it just ran. Okay, so I didn't wait enough. So it takes like a few seconds. Okay, so now we have for Wayne Enterprise that has my email address attached. I created the new task, and at this moment I can start working on that. And if you remember from the past low-code cafes, if I click start, I'm gonna start getting actual SMSs when people start working and stop working on my tasks. And for that, I think I don't have my phone number actually set to this. Oh, I actually have. So yeah, this should work properly. This is what I actually wanted to show you today. So I hope you have questions, and I really hope you have questions.
Yep. So I don't see any questions yet, but in the meanwhile, we are waiting for people to ask. And meanwhile, if you can go to back to automation, I think there's one more way to do that user impersonation, there's also like a setting upfront, I think, in the job.
Yes, you're right. So in this portal, user one, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we are looking at the setting. I'm not sure if we implemented this yet.
Yeah, I think we are looking, and you could do it both ways.
Okay, I can set this to false. This action to do it, and I can click save, and I can send me a new email, and we can have a look of that. Subject: work better and harder. Okay. Oh my God, so many emails. I have to work better. Okay, and I'm all over the place with the tabs. Click on task again. Auto. Maybe I should go into automation really quickly. 4/7. So it didn't got through the email. Okay, it got through right now. Let me refresh. Okay, so it worked like that also. Sorry, my bad. So as Bogdan mentioned, do what he suggested. Set up your execution user of the context that everything is gonna happen. Set it up top. Don't set it as I did here. It's bad practice.
Yeah, it also depends on the use case, because if these customers actually had users in the systems, then it would be better maybe to do it inside an action. So then the task is created under their account.
In their names. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, we need to create actual accounts for them in that situation.
So I think that's a big lesson to be learned about low-code. There is no right or wrong solution, universally speaking. It depends from case to case what is the best path on that particular case.
Yep.
So thanks a lot, Radu, for doing this. I don't see any question. I think maybe it's because the demo went smooth today. That's always a good day when the gods are on our side, the demo gods, how people call them.
Yeah, if I can add, so the most frequent use case that I see using this use case is people actually automating their help, like their help desk solution. They're looking through their support emails, and maybe you can have automatic replies based on some of the things in the body. At some point, you can have actual decisional trees that can happen based on the client that has, or you can, look in the body, and if you find some keywords based on the regex, you can have like a pre-evaluation of the value of that email. And sometimes you want to create an automatic reply. In other situation, you want to someone from the support, from the staff, have a look at it, and maybe, so have like a pre-filtering of the emails that you get, and get some extra value from all of that.
Yeah. And I think the bigger story, and I presented this at the conference in Orlando this year. It's about multi-channel experiences, right? Because what we try to avoid in this example, and what happens in real world, is have a new login on a new system to do something for a particular company. As a user in today's world, you probably have dozens of accounts all over the place, difficult to manage, difficult to remember what systems to use when. So then the idea here is that, and what we've been doing in this webinar, we integrated SMS and email as channels to communicate with these customers. So they don't have to learn this new system. How do I open a task? They already know to send SMS. They already know to send emails. So this is the world we are living in. Not building a system that will do everything, but try to leverage what people are already used to. So thanks a lot, Radu. I don't see any questions. I'm hoping
happy to answer them.
I'm hoping that's a good sign that we answered all of them. So we are just in time today. Let me share back my screen to show the cool slide, the cool ending slide that goes like this. And thanks, Gav, for putting this in place. Happy low coding means this nice picture where we are enthusiastic, we have blueprints for implementing low code, and we are empowered by low code. Thank you for being here today. Again, we greatly appreciate your feedback on improving this webinar. So if you have any suggestions, there will be a feedback form after this webinar. That help us make better content, address topics that are hot on your minds. And we'll be seeing you next week when probably we'll have news on the release, and then we'll have the last stage of this application, doing the billing through Stripe. Thank you and see you next week.